lovely ladies. How we doing? Everybody feeling good? Next up, I'm going to invite Walt's nephew, Rick Randall.
All right, so can you hear me back there? Okay, so I guess by now you're all wondering why I asked you here today. Actually, I first want to thank Walter, the remarkable man that he is, and his family for enriching my Facebook page for the last 2 months with his images, and they have never stopped. So I'm going to read a poem, Lincolnville, a sonic sequence about growing up. My brother and I had a paper route. We walked through Negro neighborhoods and made no money. Our hands were black with ink. Our small backs balked. The paper spilled. It was raining or too sunny. We giant stepped and baby stepped. We talked and giggled a lot, but soon our jokes weren't funny. So trudging and drudging, one day I stooped and chalked a new design, an idea I got from a penny. Those white lines were the avenues of a city. Everyone there played football and was rich. The river that flowed through it was postcard pretty. The banks and theaters, you couldn't tell which were which, were always full and rang with loads of laughter. We tossed our papers in Lincolnville thereafter. In 2 parts was Lincolnville divided. On either side of the river, the territories of opposing baseball teams. The mayor resided on the right bank, about which many stories of wealth and fame were told. The left side had its share of memorable glories. Although its greatness was never denied, it always lost a fabulous World Series. Nevertheless, the city was at peace. Citizens of both divisions cheered each other's heroes. Umpires and police hurrahed them home and themselves revered. A beautiful bridge was built across that river between the lands of the Big Brother and the Little Brother. Jerry, my brother, was drinking an RC Cola, and I was talking hurriedly over the sound of the cash register and trumpeting Rock Cola. Having considered statistics, I found that Lincolnville was 98% Catholic. But we were still disconcerted. What happened to that other 2%? Jerry demanded, couldn't they be converted? He shook his drink and his thumb slipped off the top. Soda streamed and splashed against the ceiling, forming a fizz cloud that dripped drop by drop on the bald-headed grocer who charged us squealing. We both escaped him laughing as we went. Lincolnville was now 100%. I was straining after something, some person, someone in Lincolnville must die. No one knows for sure when death will come, but he came to me on this hot day in July. Jerry was red with anger. And who could just vanish overnight? Every man in Lincolnville was young, strong, and good, or old and wise, and valuable and fun. Finally, we invented an ancient priest, gave him a moment's fame, and let him die. But death, if it doesn't hurt you, is a lie. I wanted someone we had known at least. Jerry was weeping, Jesus-like, of course. But Jess walked off with our champion racehorse. Thank you.
10 of their books.
16.
16! Of our books. Mike Darring.
I call that 100 dog years, okay? But matter of fact, I want to talk about that a little bit because Walt and I talked about that quite a bit. I first met Walt in the process of my wife and I going to South Alabama and getting 5 degrees out there, okay? So we got 5 degrees at South, and my wife went off to Tulane to get a law degree. But during that time, we lived in public housing. Our first son was born. And I was in the meetings with Dom, that Vietnam thing where Walt had those eloquent poems. And I met Walt, but I think when I really got to know Walt was he and I were members of the Unitarian Fellowship out by the university. So imagine Walt now. Walt's looking at me, and I've got that veteran pedigree. I was a machine gunner in Vietnam. But here, I wasn't born in Mobile under the azalea bush. I'm running for mayor. I didn't live in Spring Hill, okay? I'm a member of the Unitarian Fellowship. And I won't tell you what they put on the cars on Sunday mornings about me back when I ran, because I was there with Walt in the fellowship, you know, having that experience. I actually created a sister city in Rostov-on-Don, Russia. Walt was fascinated by that. And we did one in Cuba, Havana, Cuba, sister city. And here I am, you know, trying to be the mayor of the city. But Walt was a believer in social justice. He was really, you can get around Walt a little bit, you can just feel his passion for all of that. But I hired the first black chief of police in Mobile. I built $1 billion of downtown infrastructure, actually borrowed money, drove the conservatives crazy because I borrowed money to rebuild our city. And then David Bronner came in and put $1.2 billion on top of that with all of his stuff. But I felt like I had Walt's confidence that I was serving the entire city, region, and state. And Walt and I, again, are all believers in social justice. Walt knew I didn't declare a party. We talked about that. When I became mayor, I said, no Democrat, no Republican. I'm going to be the mayor for everybody. Democrats, Republicans, black, white, yellow, red, all in between. Didn't make any difference. And Walt liked that. He was fascinated by that. We had some conversations about that. Walt particularly liked my, I'll call it centrist, my middle of the spectrum when it came to governance, and the way that I managed the left-leaning part of me, okay? He felt like I looked for equity, what's the right thing to do, and all this kind of stuff. And we talked about that different kind of politics lining us up and bringing everybody together, you know. And so I had those conversations with Walt. Another thing we had in common is Walt was a Coast Guard graduate. I had 3 former Coast Guard-based commanders on my executive staff. You talk about people that are trained, that put strategic plans together that thick, and people that can execute. The Coast Guard just did a superb job of training, and Walt and I talked a little bit about that, and about those 3 coasties I had. They did such a good job for me. And then we both got a GI Bill education. We're here today to honor a man who was an intellectual giant, a true Renaissance man, an artist, a poet, a philosopher, a man who loved his teaching profession and had great skills at expressing and sharing his love, philosophies, and his learning knowledge. That was Walt. This is a celebration of his life and impact today. And we all wish that Walt could still be here with us, but unfortunately, this is how life and death things work. This is the way it works, okay? Walt's memories will live on in his family's minds, and they'll live on in our minds. And I thank the family for including me in this celebration, and I feel honored just to be able to participate. Thanks.
Our next speaker is one of Walt's, combined Walt and Bobby. One of Walt's many adopted children, Susan Hay.
Okay, I'm sure. Yeah, I first met Walt Darring because we formed the English Club in South Alabama, and he was the faculty advisor. We produced a yearly campus magazine that was called Essay, and I learned how to do stuff that actually helped me get a job after I graduated in English. When I got a house in Hillsdale, Ann Darring asked if I wanted a roommate, and I said, yeah, sure. And I got to know all of the Darrings through Ann and Walt. I didn't have an academic class with Walt until I was in graduate school for English, but he was my role model for how to be a college professor. And if I had a thorny situation in class, I'd ask, what would Walt do to my answer? There are two things that he said that I still remember, two little sayings. One was, nothing matters, and what if it did? And the other, which was the opposite side of it, was, nothing matters, and everything matters. So those two things have stayed with me. The English Club had several poetry readings, and Walt is the one who gave me pointers on how to read poetry. You know, he was my mentor, and I will remember him for the rest of my life. This is Walt's point, surprised by me, for Stephen Mooney. Let the wood be pulled, tree by tree, out of the underground, secret veins like the splayed tissue of moss will run spring waters through the grain. Let the fountain of spilled green be pine. Out of the brown-skinned hill, let grass perspire like an oozing passion. Rocks will grow humorous and round, concealing red worms. Birds in their lofty blue, complaining of a private joke, will pluck snacks of beetles. Crickets will be their mimics. And the lake, let it be a languid body, mother of all seasons. Let baby-skinned fishes hover where the reed dips in, making curious O's and nipples. The pine and the hill will fall asleep in her swelling, settling, and a fly scare over the clouds. This world should be free of timeless renewals. Let it be immortal. On a lacquered plain, the hedgerows gather to a point out of sight. The cerulean bell-like dome that rings the plain is arrayed with mosaic light, white, gold, and white. There, the cupola of the chinaberry tree, its dangling, tinkling green glass, tints a circle of brocade, and onyx beetle pinned to the grass, and a bead of brass. Wind with the incense of song breathes into everything its glory, sways the silver platter lake that sudden mysteries make starry, and the wax seem flowering. But neither that. Art of the still present is surpassed by creation's reawakened world of the dying. Let everything begin to end with the adoration of oaks and the constant elevation of sacrifice causes the deer to contemplate its fall. The hidden birds cry, where, and sunflowers gaze. So much are the eyes and ears, tongues and hands of the wild world struck by morning and my writing. The arms of the outspread east receive what I must give and give.
Thank you, Susan. Our next reader, I know Walt for several decades, met him through their good friend Victor Espinoza, Morella Chavez.